You ever have one of those days where everything starts out so normal, so still, that you almost forget how fast life can turn? That's what it was like for my mama that morning, just another travel day, slow-moving but calm, with her floral carry-on bag rolling behind her and a smile still soft on her face from hugging her grandbabies goodbye. She didn't like flying, not because of fear, but because it hurt her knees, and the rows were always too tight, and people could be cold. But she loved her grandkids more than she hated airports, so she always made it work. She had just spent 10 days in San Diego, playing hide and seek until her joints gave up, baking biscuits from memory, and reading bedtime stories like she used to when we were little. And now, she was heading home to Birmingham with a layover in Phoenix. Just a 73-year-old woman, dressed in her lavender cardigan and her favorite silk head wrap, walking slow but steady down Gate 19, one hand on the railing, one hand on her little bag, humming some old church tune to herself because it helped her feel at ease in places that didn't always welcome her. Nobody looked at her twice when she boarded. She found her seat 15C, aisle, like she prefers, and got settled, folding her cardigan in her lap, tucking her purse beneath the seat, and glancing out the window like she always does before takeoff. The plane wasn't even full. It was quiet, peaceful even. She didn't speak to anyone. She didn't need to. She just sat, composed, hands folded neatly. Then, right before the safety demo, she saw them two security agents walking down the aisle. She assumed someone else had made trouble. Maybe a seat dispute, maybe a mask issue. But they stopped at her row. "Ma'am," one of them said, leaning in. "We need you to come with us." She blinked. "Me?" "Yes, ma'am. Please gather your things." No reason. No explanation. Not even a glance from the flight attendant. Just that flat command. Mama looked around, confused. She hadn't spoken to anyone. Hadn't even asked for water. But still she picked up her things, stood up with as much grace as she could muster, and walked down that aisle with the whole plane watching. And no one said a word. They sat her near the gate on one of those cold vinyl chairs, and said something vague. Your behavior made the crew uncomfortable. That's it. No details. No accusations. Just irregular behavior. What the hell does that mean? I was in a meeting when she called me. Thought it'd be a quick, I boarded safe, check-in. But the moment I heard her voice, something inside me snapped tight. She didn't sound panicked. She never does. But I could hear it in her breath. She was holding herself together, barely. I told her to stay right there, don't talk to anyone else, and hung up. I stood there, in my corner office in Charlotte, looking out the window, trying to process what I'd just heard. And then I realized they had no idea who she was, or who I was. But they were about to find out. See, my name's Reagan Walker, CEO at Leviton Equity Group. We'd been finalizing a $5 billion investment deal with Northbridge Airline's new fleet upgrades, clean energy tech, community infrastructure. The contract had been drafted. My team was already prepping for the signing. But in one moment, everything shifted. Because they didn't just pull a passenger off a plane, they pulled my mama off a plane. Without cause. Without respect. Just a woman sitting quietly, making someone uncomfortable. I called my comms lead first. Told her to prep a full withdrawal report. Then I went through the airline's internal contact list and skipped right past the liaison, straight to the top. I dialed Alan Craig, CEO of Northbridge. "Reagan," he answered, chipper like always. "Good to hear from you. Everything's still on track?" "No. I'm calling to inform you that Leviton will be terminating our investment agreement. Effective immediately." There was silence, then a laugh, like he thought I was joking. "I'm sorry, what?" I said, "We're pulling out. Your crew just escorted my 73-year-old mother off a flight this morning. No policy broken, no incident. They simply said she made someone feel uneasy." He stammered. "I haven't heard anything about that." "You will," I said. "You'll have it in writing within the hour. And I suggest you start watching the video. Because it's already viral." By the time I hung up, my phone was buzzing from messages I hadn't even seen yet. Kyra, a young woman in the gate area, had recorded the whole thing. Her post was blowing up. They pulled a sweet old lady off the plane for sitting too quietly. No names. No assumptions. Just the raw footage. And it struck a nerve. Mama sat alone for almost an hour before I could get a representative to her. Not from the airline, of course not. From us. A transportation liaison I trust. When Sonia arrived, Mama said quietly, "I don't know what all this is, but I trust my daughter knows what she's doing. She didn't know the half of it. Meanwhile, back at corporate, Alan was scrambling. His legal team tried to contain it. Their PR put out some bland statement. Out of an abundance of caution, our team made a difficult decision. No name, no apology. Just that same cowardly language people use when they don't want to say what they really mean. But the truth was already louder than any statement they could make. Kiera's video crossed 1 million views within hours. My phone didn't stop ringing. Partners, reporters, investors, everyone wanted a comment. I didn't give one. I didn't need to. The silence spoke louder. At Northbridge headquarters, their boardroom turned to panic. They brought in the flight attendant. Her name was Lindsay. Mid-30s, pale, nervous. She said, the passenger was just staring, not blinking. I felt something was off. That's it. That was her reasoning. No policy broken. No outburst. No threat. Just a quiet black woman sitting still in her seat. And that quiet cost them $5 billion. They suspended Lindsay that day. But it was too late. The damage had slipped out of their hands and into the world's. Mama didn't want the spotlight. She just wanted to go home. But the world had already made her into something bigger. A local news station reached out, and after some convincing, she agreed to a sit-down interview 8 minutes long, soft lighting, no drama. They asked her what she thought in that moment. She said, I thought maybe they had the wrong person. But then I realized they weren't interested in the truth. They just wanted me gone. So I stayed quiet. But I didn't shrink. And that was it. That was the line. The one that stuck with people. Because it wasn't shouted, it was just honest. The video of that interview hit social media and lit up again. Everyone saw their mother in her. Their grandmother. Their teacher. Their neighbor. And suddenly, it wasn't just a viral clip, it was a reckoning. Other airlines started making statements, thinly veiled nods toward learning from mistakes. One smaller airline even reached out with a direct proposal and a single-line subject. We see you. I didn't say yes. Not right away. Because this was never about making a better deal. It was about making something clear. My mama didn't yell. She didn't protest. She didn't call a lawyer. She just sat still and told the truth. And that truth? It made people uncomfortable. But not because she was wrong, because she was right. And sometimes, that's all it takes. A week later, she flew home. Not commercial this time. A private flight, quiet, smooth, and peaceful. She sat by the window, sipping tea, looking out over the clouds. You sure this isn't too much? She asked me, smiling. I said, no, Mama. I owed you this flight years ago. When we landed, a group of young black women in aviation training were waiting. They'd followed her story. They wanted to meet the woman who stayed quiet and shook an industry. One of them stepped forward, holding flowers. Miss Walker, she said, you made us feel seen. Mama smiled and said, I didn't do anything special. I just didn't disappear. And that's what it was, really. Not a scandal. Not revenge. Not a headline. Just a woman in 15C who refused to be erased. If that means something to you, if you've ever been overlooked, dismissed, or told to make yourself smaller, drop a comment. Tell me what seat you were in. And what made you stay. Because maybe, just maybe, that's how change begins.